Welcome back to Block TV special edition on this. I think it is a little bit over 24 hours.
I believe, if we're going to be exact, 27 hours and 6 minutes we're at this point, Yael.
That's since the big news, the game changer, Libra, Facebook Libra, has dropped the announcement that they are launching their coin. Usually Blockheads, which is what we're doing right now, gives you the headlines of what the sphere is covering. This time, mainstream media is all over the news that Facebook is joining in. And with us is, of course, Yona Hochhauser of Block TV. Yona, what are those headlines?
Thanks, Yael. Especially good to be here. Like you said, usually the crypto sphere, we cover it because the mainstream isn't. Well, the mainstream is all over, the latest Facebook Libra news. And let's start off with CNBC. They're leading off with the headline, Representative Maxine Waters asks Facebook to pause work on cryptocurrency Libra. So Democratic Representative Maxine Waters, she's the chair of the House of Financial Services Committee. Very powerful when it comes to everything finance related in the U.S. government. She said the quote, given the company's troubled past, I'm requesting that Facebook agree to a moratorium on any movement forward on developing a cryptocurrency until Congress and regulators have the opportunity to examine these issues and take action. I think we all could agree with her that one. Facebook has a checkered past when it comes to really protecting our data there.
Not a bad idea to have a bit of a pause for breath, perhaps she might be suggesting.
I know. And not only that, and Asher, I mean, it's not just Waters, and I love her, I have to say. I mean, she's always very, very, she doesn't mince words. But this is all over the world in many cases, right? In France, they had things to say about this.
Certainly so. I mean, this is an attitude that a lot of regulators are coming out with, the fact that this has been such a secretive project that maybe Facebook has known about for a long time, but they're only now releasing it to the world. Let's give us a chance to read things over and have a breath before we move ahead.
And not only that, I mean, a good point I think that was mentioned by our editor-in-chief, this can become, and will become most likely, look, it's 2019, the launch is 2020, 2020 are also the elections in the United States. Right. This can entirely go across the board and divide a Republican-Democratic issue. It's going to be interesting to see.
Will.
Jonah, yes.
Yeah, she's not the only representative and member of Congress giving their 2 cents. Representative Patrick McHenry, he's the ranking Republican on that finance committee. He says, while there's a great promise for this new technology, we know there are many open questions as to the scope and scale of the project and how it will conform to our global financial regulatory framework. Along with that, Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown, he also expressed skepticism. He tweeted, Facebook is already too big and too powerful and has used that power to exploit users' data without protecting their privacy. We cannot allow Facebook to run a risky new cryptocurrency out of a Swiss bank account without oversight. Definitely playing off, that well-known trope about Swiss banks kind of being less regulated, internationally. And then jumping on top of that Congress pile is Senator Mark Warner. He says the idea that we're going to turn over our financial data and information to that company being Facebook, I think they have a big uphill effort to try to convince Americans that they ought to trust in Facebook's interest in keeping your data secret.
First of all, I mean, turn over our information, dude, they already have it. But that said, Asher, I'm wondering with you, because the Swiss bank, by the way, fabulous tweet, because everyone will know that Swiss bank account, that's the association, that's where they're going to sit.
Exactly right. I mean,
what does that enable them?
Libra claims that they're using Switzerland as a base because of its known openness to cryptocurrency, its known relaxed regulation, but that extends far beyond the cryptocurrency sphere, as Switzerland has well been known as a place to store some money, maybe good, maybe for ill, whatever it may be. It's got some connotations there that certainly need to be addressed. I don't know how many films we've seen where the reference of a Swiss bank account in Western mind association comes up as something They had either a choice of Switzerland or Panama. I guess given the Panama Papers, maybe they thought Switzerland was the better option at the moment.
And it's interesting to see, though, that there's no divide here. I mean, there is somewhat of a nonpartisan. They're basically concerned, both the Democrats and Republicans, which goes to show that this will. It will change, and that's why they're worried, the old guard, so to speak, and the system that we know. Jonah, what else?
And yeah, just like you said, it's interesting that they reference the Swiss bank account. You see that a lot in pop culture. Also pop culture, cryptocurrency has also kind of taken that place in pop culture. So, here's to hoping that Facebook and definitely with Libra's kind of mainstreaming might bring the focus of cryptocurrency away from criminal activity in pop culture to more mainstream, hey, usability, sending money.
It's true. The question is always, though, at what cost? But what else? What other
headlines? Well, Bloomberg. So Bloomberg led with the headline of Carney says Facebook token to face highest regulatory standards. So who is Carney? Well, he's the Bank of England governor, Mark Carney. We're getting global with this. He says, and I quote, Libra will face strict regulation and scrutiny at the level of the Group of Seven. Libra is a part of a revolution in global payments, and central banks need to be aware of new developments to ensure that they are able to maintain monetary and financial stability, including looking at their operational resilience, including anti-money laundering, counter-terrorist financing, and data privacy protections.
Look, Carney raises some very key points there, but most notably of the capacity for sovereign states to manage their monetary policy. If their policy is being run not through their own Federal Reserves or reserve banks, but rather through
an
international, and a different reserve bank, and in fact a different consortium and association, exactly, governance structure there, that could really upset the economies of a lot of countries.
Entirely, and I think you're making a great point, because the statement of Carney, which uses all these buzzwords that the mainstream has used in the past about the cryptos, you know, we need to beware of terrorists, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think the thing that they're most concerned about is the fact that this is a new system to replace that.
This isn't just about the anti-money laundering. This isn't about KYC regulation. This is about fundamental structural overhaul.
Yes, Jonah, what else?
Yeah, right. So Reuters is continuing with that global theme, and that global theme of being a little skeptical, about Project Libra. So they were leading off by quoting French finance minister Bruno Le Maire. So Bruno Le Maire called for more regulation of tech companies in general. He's saying that this instrument for transactions will allow Facebook to collect millions and millions of data, which strengthens my conviction that there is a need to regulate the digital giants. That's very popular. Also, we see starting to gain popularity in U.S. with Elizabeth Warren calling for breaking up big tech along with these new congressional investigations into Facebook, into Google, these big things. Yeah, exactly. So Le Maire, he added, it is out of question that Libra become a sovereign currency. It cannot and it must not happen, end quote. I mean, he's really taking a strong stance there, not only moving from France, moving to Switzerland, where Libra is actually based out of. Switzerland's financial watchdog said it was in contact with the initiators of the Libra project, but they declined to comment on whether it was obtaining specific regulatory permissions or status. And that's curious to see what happens there. And then going from Switzerland to Germany, Markus Ferber, a senior German lawmaker in the European Parliament, he said in a statement that Facebook's new coin should put regulators on high alert. And he called on the European Commission to start work on a regulatory framework for virtual currencies now.
Well, good morning, everybody. I mean, in many ways, and you know what I'm wondering, regulation is going to happen this year.
Yeah.
I mean,
certainly, and this is going to force the hand of regulators to really take that step up and make sure that they put in some sort of policy, and whether that's a uniform policy across the world, whether some states opt in this system and opt out of this system, and what that can mean for the Libra consortium as a whole, whether they're able to operate, whether they're able to actually function as a currency. It remains to be seen, but with the trade war tensions heating up, I find it hard to believe that states across the world wholesale will be able to come together and agree on how they're going to approach to deal with this.
I'll give you one word about that, the EU, to come together and agree. That's true, but the thing is, first of all, I think it's unstoppable. It's fascinating to see how this is incredibly, it's having the same reaction both in Europe and in the United States, but yes, legislation is coming. Once again, this raises in my mind the main question of, will it now just be tailored to that project?
Exactly. Yeah. Will it be tailored to that, and will this sort of energy that we have now at the launch maintain, and will regulators keep updating what they're going to do? Does it fall by the wayside as other priorities take shape?
So many unanswered questions, but enough to fill us talking. Yes, please. What else?
Well, if up until now most of the coverage has been skepticism and criticism of Facebook possibly getting too much power here, the Washington Post actually posted an op-ed where the main focus was doubting whether Libra would even be a success. Interesting take, considering that there are already numerous and successful cashless payment apps, such as Apple Pay, Google Pay, Venmo, Circle, just to name a few. They highlighted Bitcoin as an example of the challenges facing cryptocurrencies, both in volatility as well as regulation. I mean, the volatile, and especially facing, the uncertain regulations going forwards. And they also questioned whether big companies that would need to accept Libra for it to be success, such as Netflix, such as Spotify, companies that consumers want to deal with, would these companies, would they even have an incentive to play nice with Libra, because they view it at this point, mainly Libra, as a Facebook product to which they compete?
I think it's a fabulous question, but unless they're in the game, and the game being doing the same in the competition of having their own coin.
Yeah, but there are many players in that field. I mean, that is a growing field, whether it be Apple Pay, whether we talk about Amazon, whether we talk about Samsung. I mean, JP Morgan from the banking sector. We've got a lot of players coming in.
Which makes you wonder, actually, I'm thinking that all of this makes sense because Facebook really raced to this announcement. I mean, this was a race by the social media giant to figure out, design, and announce this coin, and be the first, and they've done it.
They have done it. They have done it. Though some have claimed that the announcement had some sloppy touches to it, that they thought that there were elements not well addressed, not well handled, and it's allowed this backlash. They could have handled the PR better. They could have handled that better. So, as you say, there was a rushed element to this, and maybe that's a sign of a bit of stress and tension behind the scenes. It's
stress and tension, and because there is such a race amongst all of them. Yes. Jonah, what else?
Well, Sky News has led with the headline, Facebook's Libra could threaten the global financial system. Yeah, that's a scary one. So they said the biggest concern has to be the safety of the global financial system. Up until now, currencies in general have almost entirely been controlled by the governments. Now, a company is launching a global alternative. This is not necessarily bad, but is definitely new. And the global governance system is not well equipped to handle novelty. I love that one. I love that one.
No, I have to say, by the way, about the headline before you continue, Asher, that if you change the word threaten to could change, then it's not that scary.
I was going to say, though, low be it for Sky News to run away from some good clickbaity headline, threatening the global financial system. I mean, even if you're not that interested in business, you might want to
click on that, but they want you to click on it. And as they're saying, this might not be a bad thing.
Right.
I mean, the threat actually may be a good thing because they're going to force the banks to deal with it.
To change and force some of those established monopolies that do exist out there in the financial system to maybe reassess themselves.
And they got us talking about this headline, so it's already
maybe we'll get some better customer service at the bank as well.
Oh my God.
I mean, who knows? I mean, the outcomes are myriad,
There could be the silver linings. But yes, Jonah, also, we've got TechCrunch, right?
Exactly. So I think it's really interesting to note that while the mainstream coverage has mostly been, what will be when Facebook gets all this power, TechCrunch, more of a knowledge in crypto, more of a crypto insider, they're taking that the real risk of Facebook's Libra coin is crooked developers, is actually the power on the other end. So an article which could be summed up by its opening line, everyone's worried about Mark Zuckerberg controlling the next currency. I'm more concerned about a crypto Cambridge Analytica. So this concern comes following an interview that Facebook's former blockchain head and current director of Libra, David Marcus, he did with Bloomberg on the topic of who can develop on the Libra blockchain. Let's take a listen.
While we are starting with a permissioned blockchain on the nodes side of the house, the blockchain will be open, meaning that people and companies can build services on top of the blockchain. You don't need to be a member of the association to build a wallet on top of this new network. And as a result, we will have a lot of competition for our own wallets.
Are you buying this?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting here because, if you listen to what he says, that they're pretty much, he's saying that developers will be free and unrestricted. I mean, later also on in the interview when he's pressed further, he said that these developers, they're not going to have to go through any screening process or any approval process because the point is that it will be, like a decentralized, they want to push decentralized, they want to be hands-off Facebook here, so that, to make it easy and low cost. So once they add a screening process, it becomes more centralized, more expensive. So the fear here being that malicious users, malicious programmers will just make wallets that will steal clueless users' Libra coins. It's important to note here.
Right, but doesn't the association, I'm asking Asher because I think you read the bulk of it, is the association still has the ability to then kick them off, no?
No, the association only has the power of minting and burning. They're effectively working as a Federal Reserve.
But this is open to anybody to build on it.
Yes, the association works as the reserve bank of Libra, and others can still come in and rob the bank.
Yeah, exactly.
Take the coins and go out and enjoy them in the world.
And even from within.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's very important to realize here that while most users that have been using cryptocurrencies until now have historically been more tech savvy, they understand a little more tech than your average Facebook user, and there's still tons, billions worth of crypto stolen. So imagine when your grandmother, who still doesn't understand the tagging feature on Facebook, if she starts dealing with third-party Libra wallets and apps and things like that, the possibilities for malicious actors, developers, to take advantage, especially if they're not being checked and screened by Facebook, the opportunities for malicious act here are tremendous.
Okay, I'm now really scared for my grandma. But yes, and I think, you know, first of all, Jonah, thank you so much. I do think we know as much as they could have released, but we still really don't know how this thing is going to work.
Yeah, and I'm not entirely sure they know either. I mean, there's a lot of scope out there in the white paper saying, look, we're looking to build, we're looking to innovate, and we hope that that's a positive move.
But there we go. That was special edition of Blockheads as mainstream media enters the sphere due to Libra. We'll be right back.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter